Hi, everybody. So, NIS is apparently going through financial constraints yet again. They did so around 2014, if memory serves correctly. And NIS America, are they going to be affected or are they not? With me is a particular friend of the show, so I'm going to throw you over to him. So, here's Johnny.
At least I think the mic's still working. Hello, everybody. My name is not
How's it
Dr.
going?
Nick. It's going. I mean, this is something that I think we should discuss because honestly, I have been seeing situations. Sorry, that's my pen here. Because this situation does make me a little nervous.
ADHD brain kicking in as well, right, John?
Maybe a little bit there. But yeah, no, this is also just a situation that's maybe a little nervous to talk about, but it's also something that's been making the rounds I've been seeing on Twitter/X.
And on Facebook and various other platforms where video games get discussed.
Mm-hmm. But I figured it would make... We've talked about this, and I figured that this could be an interesting thing to discuss because they are one company, are they not? But they are kind of two separate subsidiaries.
Correct. Basically, around the last time NIS started having financial trouble, NIS America was in a good enough place that they were able to effectively buy independence from their parent company, and now they act as two separate entities, even though, technically speaking, NIS Japan still technically owns them. They kind of don't.
So, maybe just for clarification purposes, too, we should state that when did NIS America actually get their independence, and how long have they had it for?
Since about 2014, 2015, or 2016, in and around that time frame.
Okay, so PlayStation 4 era
also,
stuff. PlayStation 4, Xbox One era stuff.
Which is when they started to actually publish Falcom games.
Yes, and if we want to go on a side tangent for a minute, we need to talk about that Ys 8 localization.
I mean, that was pretty fucking brutal, but it did get fixed eventually. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'm going to catch some flack for this, but I don't think, generally speaking, the NIS America localization efforts are quite as bad as people state they are.
I actually went down a rabbit hole looking for that, because I know there were some people that were talking about that compared to like their PS3 releases as well. And there are some things that you do see. Like, I know the first NIS game I actually remember playing myself that I truly loved was Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc for the Vita. Leave a comment or give a thumbs up to this, telling us that you played that game and you know what the hell I'm talking about.
I still need to play the Danganronpa games, and I've actually been thinking of getting some content creator friends together and having us do like the voices for each character.
I love those games. They are fun. So the fact that you haven't played them, I'm not going to spoil anything, but be prepared to be gone for a trip.
I'm prepared for that. I'm excited. And I'll say this, I love the Danganronpa art style.
Mm-hmm. But the reason I bring up Danganronpa is because, like, I know there were some people that complained about some of the localization efforts, and the only thing that really stood out when I played it was that, like, text wrapping, I think, is a problem. And I think that's a common thing I've been seeing with a lot of them, too, right?
That is a problem with NIS America in general, but guess what? That was also a problem with XSEED games when they were localizing the Trails games and the East games as well. It's just most people didn't really seem to care too much. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. But the thing is, it's kind of it's talking about both sides of the mouth because it's an issue in both. And there's always been minor little quibbles like that with Falcom games because Falcom games are just so fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's going to be typos and text errors here and there.
You're still going to see that.
The scripts are longer than the fucking Lord of the Rings books, guys.
But then again, even like when it comes to that for other games, like if you're looking, like I'll throw a random one out there, and I saw this as an example. The King of Fighters 11, when that got localized, apparently there was an issue I saw with European versions where the text never wrapped. But if you play the North American ones, they actually work perfectly. And those aren't very text heavy, but that's still a problem. So like, I guess like programming and like that stuff is one thing. Scripts are another issue, like you said, with Falcom stuff. And even other RPGs, but I know the other issue that also came up was just like them changing things, but you see all publishers or like localization teams do that too. You've seen that, I think, with Fire Emblem as well, being another example where they had to change some stuff.
That's what localization literally is. It's literally taking the text of one language and making it work in another language, because not all jokes, for example, are going to translate from one language to the other. Like, for example, one of my favorite dad jokes: what do you get when you have a gang of Lees? Gangly. That would not work in any other language than English.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, the other thing, at least when it comes to localization, because that's the other thing people complain about, not just with previous localizations from, say, NIS, or even, say, Atlas or Xseed or anything like that, because they have to make it work for modern English audiences, but this is still something that happens today. This is still a thing. And it's just, it depends, I guess, on how much liberties people take with it. Like, if you change the entire script completely, then okay, I get it. If you change names,
then it's a problem.
That's another one. Because names was a big issue.
Like, for example, I know that a lot of Falcom fans are absolutely upset over one character now going by Beauty's Blade, which I actually think is a cooler name than whatever name Falcom originally had, which was just very generic swordswoman sounding, if I'm being honest.
But I think that's, again, like we said, the thing with localizations. Like, if you localize, you can do a direct one-to-one. And, like, that's it, job's done. Sometimes that works actually really well. But it's nice to add some flair to it. Like, I'm not saying go too crazy. Obviously change some things here and there, but the localization, if it's always one-to-one, sometimes, like, that can also be a downside.
It can be, because then you get really weird sentences that make absolutely no sense or sound stilted when you read them.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously, I would know that the localizations go through, you translate everything, and then you have to do grammatical stuff. Because it's not like, okay, translate this sentence. That's it, it's done. No, that's not how this works. Because that would probably be very illegible. If I'm pronouncing that word right, I know I'm not. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes, like, take, for example, RPGs in the 90s. We got a lot of great ones. We also got a lot of bad ones, but we don't talk about those. And then there's also the fact that localization, they really did take a ton of liberties with everything Japanese back then.
This is just a thing that happens. So it's just like, if you're just going to pin it on NIS, for instance, it'd be like, then do all the other companies get a pass? Does Atlas get a pass for this? I don't think so.
No. And nor should they, like, if you know what I mean. Like,
No, the only time a localization or a translation would be a problem is if you play a game and some text isn't translated. And I know that's been a problem with some games, even ones that we've seen today. Like, I think that was actually something I encountered when playing Reverie.
I encountered that
at launch. That was a problem. But they fixed it with patches.
I encountered that with Cold Steel 4, but it was not that big a deal because of the way it was positioned. It wasn't like in the middle of a sentence. It was like after a sentence had concluded. So it was just like little text that obviously got missed in a final pass.
Yeah, so it's just things happen like that. And at least with games today, you can patch that stuff. So that's fine. Yep. But
anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, we should probably get back to the, topic of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's our fun little tangent. Sorry, everybody, but it's something that should have been brought up.
We're passionate about, basically.
But again, going back to financial situations. So as you were saying, at around between 2014 and 2016, NISA got their independence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where do you want to go with this conversation? Because, I have ideas where I want to go, but
I'm just following with this right now, so.
Okay, so you've probably noticed that NIS America, as soon as they kind of gained some independence from their parent company, that they started to kind of do their own thing, and this has been very successful for them financially. They are, in fact, making a lot of money, whereas the parent company is in danger of going bankrupt, apparently.
Apparently, just because, like, what were some of the releases that they had last year? Like, the big one was, what, Disgaea 7?
Yeah.
And I think there might have been one or two more things, but I don't know how well those did. But Disgaea is like their cash cow. That is their most successful thing. Because there isn't anything else from the Moral Kingdom Chronicles, because I would love to see another one. I honestly would love to see another Rhapsody game, personally.
I've never played either.
You want musicals? Go play those.
Gotcha.
They are very well done. But NISA, like you said, they've done other things too. Like they just don't do NIS stuff. They've done Falcom's. They've done localization for Falcom. They've actually even worked with Koei Tecmo.
Yep.
With the Atelier special editions and even the one I think for Fate Samurai Remnant.
That is correct. And I think that part of why they're doing so well is because of their special editions. They actually feel special.
Mm-hmm.
At least the majority of them do. There's some stinkers, but
it's also like they do pretty well with their stuff, and this is something that I hope they continue to do, but that's also something that has me concerned with their specials, because like we already know there's a special edition for Trails Through Daybreak coming,
but they haven't announced one for East 10 yet,
or even Reinatus.
That is true.
Yeah, like, because those are two games that I really, really want myself. And normally, whenever you see an NISA announcement, a special edition is normally announced the same day. We are, what, a month or two in from those games being announced?
Yeah.
And there's nothing. And that's kind of surprising.
I have a theory as to why for East 10. Mm-hmm. I think that they're trying to get Falcom to give them a map of the area so that we can get a cloth map as one of the extras.
Cloth map would be nice. I think the big things for me, these are just like wishful thoughts though.
Mm-hmm.
I want a full soundtrack in the box.
Yep, me too.
But
I think that needs to be a standard thing. Yeah, for sure. I doubt it's going to happen because Falcom sells their stuff elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then I'll buy the soundtrack again. I'll just buy the soundtrack somewhere else if need be, but...
Mm-hmm. And they make it very hard to actually do so if you're outside of Japan.
Mm-hmm. But if you know where to go, like, I can guide you into a spot or two, because I actually got the full soundtracks for, say, Tekken 8 and Grand Blue. I managed to import those with ease.
Nice. I definitely want them for, like, the whole of the Trail series and Ys 8.
Yeah, Ys 8 one, that's the one I would never get rid of. I'm glad I got those when I had the chance. But, again, sidetrack. Soundtracks, it would be nice if they do full soundtracks, because that would be great. Mm-hmm. But, for me, personal thing, Steelbook.
Yep, which they do include for everyone, so...
Majority of them. They didn't do one for Ys 9.
Okay, fair enough. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, there are some games where they skip out on it. Like, Daybreak has one.
Mm-hmm.
Daybreak has one. I think Rev did too?
Yes, Reverie did. Cold Steel 4 did as well.
Yep, Cold Steel 4 did. And, Daybreak does as well.
As does 3.
Mm-hmm. So, for me, the big things, like, if you were to sell me on a special edition, let's say, of either East 10 Nordics or Reinatus, again, give me a Steelbook, preferably full soundtrack. If not, give us at least a CD of the highlights and stuff. But I think I did hear in Japan, if you pre-order Reinatus, you do get a soundtrack as a pre-order bonus, and I think it's the full thing.
That's pretty good.
So, that could be cool to see if they put that as the full soundtrack in the special edition for Reinatus. But Steelbook, full art book, of course.
Yep.
Full art book, of course, would be something, but they should have announced this kind of stuff by now, or at least... Or do you think they're going to be waiting for, okay, here's the final day. Here's when Reinatus comes out. Here's when East 10 comes out. Special editions are now live on the store. I
think that's the play they're going for. And I think that they're going to be going big with the East 10 one.
They're going to be going in on that one?
Yeah. I think that we're going to get something crazy special like what we did with the East 8 one and the Cold Steel 3 collector's editions.
They went special with that. But I have another thought that they could do, because I have a qualm when it comes... quarrel or an issue I have with it.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I like those special editions, it kind of sucks when you have to ship them out up here to us.
It does, but there are some ways to make it less painful.
There are some ways too, but if you're ordering directly from the website like I did, like I do with them, like I'm still mad about Trails from Zero.
Which you should have harassed them more.
I did, but I did send an email, I think, about it, but I didn't really get anything back out of it, so... But thankfully, everything after that, so Azure, Rev, those came in. Those were fine.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'll have no problems with Daybreak.
Mm-hmm. Well, cross fingers and hope for the best, right?
Yep.
Here's my dumb idea, though.
Okay.
What if they were just to make those special editions available at retail for everybody? Like, say, So, like, for Daybreak, let's use Daybreak as the example. So, that special edition of Daybreak, you could pre-order that at videogamesplus.ca.
I'd be fucking happy if they did that. That would make our lives so much fucking easier.
It would make it so much easier. Like, if they were to do something like that, because that would make things a lot easier. You already saw Atlas do this with Unicorn Overlord.
Yep.
That special edition was exclusively through them.
Which I decided not to go for the collector's edition and just order a standard edition.
Which is fair.
Because here's the thing. I was able to get Unicorn Overlord for, like, so cheap on Amazon on a flash deal, so I was just like, okay, fuck the collector's edition.
But I think that would be a good idea, though. Like, yes, it's going to... You will have people complain, oh, it's exclusivity with a distributor. It's just like, yeah, I get it. And some people may not like some of these distributors, but I think it can help them kind of branch out and get it into more hands of people. Because, like, I agree. I'm still okay with the NIS store, despite that one quarrel I have with it. If this was the only way to get it, I'd still do it. But I feel like if they did, say, a partner with, like, say, hey, you want to pre-order the NIS Nordic Special Edition, you can do it exclusively through Video Games Plus, or you can get it exclusively through GameStop. Something like that. I think that could be an interesting idea.
I agree. Here's something that I have kind of been thinking about. As for why the parent company, Nippon Ichi Software, is doing so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of repeating the same mistakes they did back in the early 2010s.
Which is what, just not like high-end output of stuff, or is just like sole focus or long developments?
It's kind of a mix of that, but also whenever they're going like for third-party publishing, like when they're publishing someone else's game, they're publishing the most niche stuff that even the Japanese people who like niche games don't give a shit about.
So, not as well-known stuff.
Yeah. Literally, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I think that is killing their overall profits because they can't turn a profit on the niche things that they're publishing.
And we've seen publishers do that too, like when they try to branch out and sometimes do third-party stuff, or at least like from other developers or smaller things. Like, the one famous one that comes to my mind is Atlas publishing that Game of Thrones game.
I forgot that was even a thing.
Oh dear. So I just reminded you about that.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed we've never gotten a good Game of Thrones game?
We've gotten one.
Was it the Telltale one?
Yes.
Okay, but do those really count as games since they're more visual novels with some light gameplay?
I'd still count them as games. If you want pure visual novels, go talk to Axis or Idea Factory then.
Fair point. But I think that it's kind of interesting because if you look at how NISA have done it, they have targeted niche audiences, but they've targeted niche audience where the audience is actually big enough where you can turn a profit.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, the things they're going are pretty good guarantees. Like, there might be some that some people question. Like, I think that was the case I heard with R-Type. Like, why would NIS publish a shmup?
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone do some people not remember how big R-Type is?
Well, I didn't know about it until I started talking to you because I've never really gotten into shmups.
Mm-hmm. But like at least those play out like, and sometimes they may not be as huge successes as for some things, but they can turn out well. Like the one I would be curious about is the stuff that they're doing with Furyu. So like with Cry Machina, with Monarch, and even with Reinatus.
Mm-hmm.
But even the other interesting one was I want to know how well Eurokill did
I think it did pretty well.
for them, which I know you said you're going to play that one at some point.
I am.
But like at least with NIS here, like yeah, they're still taking some risks with some of these, but they're trying to go for stuff that's like kind of different, but also kind of fits within their wheelhouse. Because yeah, you look at stuff like Eurokill or even R-Type or even Cry Machina, like it may not be like the exact stuff from NIS, but there's something there that they see that goes out there and blends with their stuff.
Exactly. And the thing is, they're kind of taking on a role that Atlas was doing in the early 90s to early 2000s, where they're kind of publishing weird stuff that you might not have heard of, but a lot of it is at least a modest success. Atlas did a lot of shady things before they were acquired by Sega, obviously. Not really the purview of this video, but worth kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like Atlas has done the kind of their own things. Like even NIS kind of mirrored what Atlas did for some of that stuff before. Like you'll see them branch out to do things that you don't normally see from them.
Yeah,
and it's just like we said. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's not.
But I think that
at least with sorry to cut you off there for a second, but
I
I just thought of like with the NIS stuff. The only thing I truly haven't seen too much from NIS. I might need to do more digging on it, but they haven't really done much for Western stuff compared to Atlas. Like when Atlas did those Western games like Game of Thrones or even The Cursed Crusade, those were mostly Western releases.
But I think that NIS America has been more decided in the types of stuff that they're publishing, whereas their semi-parent company has been not so careful with what they're choosing, and they're just publishing anything, and that's hurting their bottom line. Because some of it is notably crap.
There is some bad stuff there.
A lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, because I haven't really looked into much of what they have been doing. I've only been hearing some of the stuff that like has been internal, besides like Disgaea 7. Like I know they have another like kind of a superhero RPG or something, a school style superhero game, and I know they do horror games too, which I'm surprised we don't get those here.
I am a little bit as well, but maybe NIS America just doesn't feel it would be profitable for their bottom line.
If
because
they
would still have they would have access to the internal sales figures from NIS Japan. So
I figured they would have access to that stuff just to seeing how well it does.
Which probably informs their decisions, hence why they are making more money. But do you think that NIS America is in danger of shutting down?
I don't think so, though. Like, I haven't really seen any terrible plays from them, unless, like, the last couple of releases that they've done haven't been good, or have been, like, financial flops.
And
then that's a different situation.
And they've said that the Trails games that they published within the last 2 years, so Zero, Azure, Reverie, all far outsold expectations.
And I think that was the same thing with Nayuta as well.
Yeah. Whereas Nayuta was more of a slow burn. It took a long time for it to find its sales footing.
But
hence why it was going on sale all the time, because it just wasn't moving.
Which makes me sad, because like I really like Nayuta, and again, controversial opinion for the Trails fans that are going to hear this, that's my favorite Trails game.
I haven't played it yet, so I can't comment, but I definitely know I'll like it at minimum. I think that a good deal of the problem with Nayuta was the fact that NIS kind of didn't seem to know what they were doing with marketing that one.
Yeah, because like with the other ones, you knew what you were getting into with the Crossbow games and with Rev.
Yeah.
Nayuta's kind of in a weird place.
Because it takes on action combat for one.
And its story is also like it's considered a side story, but it actually ties into things that happen with the other main games.
Yeah. And is going to be important going forward.
So, Nayuta is important.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten it.
But I'm glad we got Nayuta. Like I said, it's probably my favorite Trios game. It's the most different, though, out of the bunch. But it feels right. And if you want to... And it's a good way to have a break from the series, too.
Yeah. But I don't think NIS America is going to go anywhere. I think that if they aren't fully independent by now, if they think their parent company is going to go fully under, they'll probably buy out their full independence and just strike it out on their own.
That's one option. Like if they can afford to buy out on their own, if they need to. Like if they are back under their umbrella.
Which I don't think they are.
Yeah, because like again, like you were saying, between 2014 to 2016, they should be on their own. But if they're still under, or like that, the North American studio has more greater control than what their home than what Japan does, they could try and buy the rest of it. The other option could be like, what if they get picked up by Sega? What if they get picked up by Koei Tecmo, for instance?
Or even Sony. Which would not surprise me, since NIS America was publishing a lot of games on the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, like, it was them, it was Axis, and it was...
Exceed
and Atlas, before Limited Run took over for bigger publishing rights on the Vita.
And I think that that indicates that Sony has a clear working relationship with at least some of these companies. And let's face it, they need to start going back towards Japan.
Which, this kind of brings up an interesting conversation we'll be having at some point soon about Sony leadership, but we're going to save that for later. But this could be, something they keep in their back pocket.
Definitely. But I don't think it's going to be as doom and gloom as people say. NIS has faced bankruptcy many times before. They've managed to pull themselves out of the fire. I think that's what's going to happen here. What about you?
To be fair, I don't want to see them go either. Like, I think they will be okay, because they have published some of my favorite games over the last couple of years, and it would be sad to see that studio go. I think they will be okay. They can pull themselves out of this. But if worse comes to worse, and they go down with the ship, I do wish the best for them.
Same here. I am curious. What do you think it will take to save the parent company?
Big hit after big hit. But if they want to go down a route where they want proper security, they might need to have someone have a big stakehold in NIS Japan, or the words many people may not want to hear, consolidate into another studio.
That could be a possibility. I have my own ideas. I think one of them is make more Disgaea spin-offs. Because
kind of like what you're seeing with the Warriors, like the Warriors franchise, like what Koei Tecmo's doing with what they did with Fire Emblem and Hyrule.
A little bit, but I don't know how much you remember NIS America, like on the PS1 and PS2. Or not NIS America, but NIS in general.
I know some of the stuff that they did for PSP.
Okay, well, on the PS1, they had a couple of games. And they were Disgaea spin-offs focused on the Prinnies.
Yep. I actually remember a Prinny game on PSP actually about that. Prinny, Can I Be the Hero?
I think that a couple Prinny spin-offs could probably do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Another idea is make more classic like Disgaea games, because part of their charm was the fact that they used 2D sprite art.
Yeah, and 6 was the first, I think, to go 3D.
Yeah, and that one sold comparatively poorly.
I know 7 was a lot better, but I haven't had
Yeah,
a chance to play that yet.
but basically, I think that the move to 3D really harmed Disgaea,
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of lost part of what made it such a unique proposition.
The art is really what sells that game.
Yeah, because with a 3D environment, yeah, it's cool, but I don't think it works as well with a chibi art style.
Sometimes it depends on the game, though, right? Because like I know Rhapsody did that with Rhapsody 3. They went for like 3D environments and effects and stuff, but they still kept 2D sprites.
Which,
You could do something
again,
like that.
True. I'm just saying though that, like, kind of they gutted Disgaea's identity by going for a generic looking 3D style, which is kind of what they did with 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's chibi-fied, but it's still a very generic chibi look, so it's not like it's anything too special. It makes it look more budget than it does high budget.
So, like, that could be something. Go back to what made Disgaea work, for instance. But it's also they have other IPs you think they could probably sink into as well, right?
Probably. What are some that you can think of offhand?
Like I said, the one that comes to mind is like the Morrow Kingdom game, so like Rhapsody. They already did like a re-release of Rhapsody 2 because we never got that here, and Rhapsody 3, which was the Morrow Kingdom Chronicles. So, I mean, they could do a new one of those. But it's also like if they want to be experimental, like I said, if they don't mind taking the risk, bring out some of their other games that, you know, they may not have seen success there, but they would see success worldwide.
For sure. And here's another thing. A new IP.
That's a big one, though. Because we haven't seen... I don't think we've seen one in a while, right?
No, we haven't seen a new one from them for at least a decade. And I think that that could be something that could save the company, because look at how Final Fantasy pretty much saved Square Enix the first time around.
Mm-hmm. Because it was either that or they're done.
Yep. And I think that they just have to come up with a unique idea, a unique selling point for that idea, and make a brand new IP that isn't Disgaea related and is something completely different from everything else in their stable, but one that's going to appeal both to Japanese audiences and to the West.
Because that's, I think, kind of the hard part for some teams, even for ones that have been, like, very long into the game, or, like, long into, like, its life cycle, finding something that's a balance, but you don't want to go too Western.
No.
Either. So it's just, like, keep what makes your studio unique, keep what makes you unique, but add some little flares here and there.
Yeah. Like a globetrotting action adventure RPG. They don't really have anything like that in their stable, to my knowledge. I wasn't able to find anything, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, think if they did something in-house that's similar to Ys, I think that would kind of save the company, to be honest.
What if you do a spin-off of the Disgaea games? Like, it's still Disgaea, but it's its own IP universe as an action RPG.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could do like a throwback traditional turn-based RPG, not set in the Disgaea universe. It's its own thing. And, you know, just do something that's very traditional, that's not a strategy RPG, because, you know, they are very niche. Disgaea and Fire Emblem are pretty much the sole exceptions for ones that have mass appeal.
Mm-hmm. But
I'd say Disgaea's got the mass appeal because of the fact it's so lighthearted, stupid, and comedic.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really carries it.
Exactly. It which also makes it different from everything else on the market, because have you noticed that for the last couple of years, RPGs have kind of gone back to the grim, dark, edgy stuff that we were seeing in the 90s?
We're starting to see that a little bit now, but we're also starting to see, again, some, like, that style and other gameplays, like, that was popular back then, making their way back now. Like, Unicorn Overlord is a perfect example of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just, there isn't much of a market for strategy RPGs, because it was pretty much ruled for the last little while by Fire Emblem.
Yep.
And then Unicorn Overlord comes out of nowhere, even though I think that's been in
And so,
development for, like, a very long time.
yes, it was originally supposed to be a Vita game.
Yeah, and now look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out,
And sold
it's
500,000 copies.
it's hard to keep it on shelves.
Yep. Like, I when I ordered it on sale on Amazon, it was back ordered and I still haven't got my copy. I won't get it for another 2 days minimum.
I actually ended up picking up Unicorn Overlord as well because it went on sale too. But the only copy that's been back ordered to, it seems like back ordered into oblivion right now, is the Switch version.
See, I went for the PS5 version.
I was gonna go Switch. I went with PS5 instead.
Mm-hmm.
But like that one took a little, didn't take too long of a wait. But
How long did
everybody
or
wants that Switch version.
how much did you pay for Unicorn Overlord?
I think like $50.
I paid 30.
Nice.
Yeah, I was ordering other stuff and I was just like, fuck it.
Sure, why not, right?
Yep.
But yeah, like if I would say going back to like for NIS stuff, if they were to do something like that, like you could do a spin-off Disgaea game, or
Well, it would be the Japanese division of
mhm.
Nippon Ichi Software, not NIS America.
Yeah, like for them, like have them develop that, like make kind of a new spin-off for Disgaea, or do a new IP, like that would be successful for them.
Yep.
Just make it so it doesn't drive your studio almost to being bankrupt.
Which they're already at this point, so may as well just take one last roll of the dice and see what happens.
See what they can do. See what they can pull off.
But yeah, even if the parent company goes down, I don't think NIS America's got anything to worry about. And I think Falcom fans are getting their panties in a bunch for no real reason, because Falcom games are starting to prove themselves in the West. Even if NIS America drops them, they will find somebody to publish them.
Yeah, and I can already think of like one name that comes to mind for it. One or two names that come to mind that could do it.
Atlas.
Axis.
I mean, they did that for
Xanadu.
Tokyo Xanadu.
Mm-hmm. Those are the two I could see, because what was it? They probably wouldn't work with Xseed again.
Well, Xseed doesn't seem to want to work with anybody anymore at this point.
That's just unusual.
They're more focused on bringing over their parent company's IPs at this point.
Marvelous, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just wanted to make sure I had that clear in my head, but for at least if you're going to be talking for the Falcom fan base, there's really nothing to worry about when it comes to that stuff.
Exactly. And the thing is, I could even see Sony stepping in and being like, yeah, we'll publish your shit.
The only things they would have to keep at least consistent, like say if they were to switch to another studio, do like someone else doing the publishing rights, is still keep the teams that were doing localizations and everything.
Yep.
But the big one, at least for me, would be keep the team that does the PC versions.
Mm-hmm.
They need to stick around, and they need to continue doing that, because the PC versions of their games are actually very well done.
That's good to know, because they're still pretty well done on PS5.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the PC ones need to stay on board, because like those PC ports, at least the ones that NIS have been actually doing very well, and that team has been doing good quality of life stuff. Because did you hear what happened with Nordics?
No, I did not.
Apparently, they pulled the PC version from Cloud Leopard Entertainment.
Oh, I did see about that. Sorry, I thought you were talking about something else for a second.
Yeah, but no, they pulled the PC version. It
Yep.
was very bad, apparently.
That is kind of typical for Clouded Leopard, from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. And so just imagine, like, if we got Nordics on PC here and we got that version.
People would be pissed.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying keep like the team that NIS is working with for those PC versions. That team needs to stick around and stuff because that team also did Zero and Azure and Nayuda and Rev.
Yep.
And,
I thought of something else. If Falcom loses NIS America as their publisher, what about Pix and Love or Limited Run Games as their distributor?
They could use them as the distributor as well. Like, I could see that.
Just imagine how epic the collector's editions would be then.
Like, at least if you're talking for physical distribution, like, they can do pretty well with that stuff. I could see that happening easily for sure.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just, like, self-publish for, like, digital.
Mm-hmm.
But get a localization team and someone like Pix and Love or Limited Run or one of these other companies involved.
Just to do the physical releases?
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that happening as a possibility.
Also, here's something else to keep in mind, Falcom fans. Neon Falcom have said themselves that the West is very important for their business model going forward.
Mm-hmm. Like, unless a game flops, like, let's just say, like, if Daybreak or Nordics flops when it comes out here, then they'll reconsider their strategy. But I don't think they're going to.
I think even then they'd just be like, okay, that flopped, that's fine. We'll figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're seeing year over year insane growth in the West. It's too much at this point for them to just give up on the West because it's actually driving a lot of their profits at the moment. In Japan, they've kind of reached saturation point.
So their only option is to go out beyond that.
Yeah.
And right now it's been paying off.
Exactly. I'm going to call it now. Falcom is going to be the next big JRPG games company. It may not seem it now, but the same thing could be said about the Tales of games. They were pretty niche until around Tales of Xillia.
And speaking of which, like, Tales, that's another discussion we could have.
It is, for sure.
Tales is another discussion we could have, and there are things I would love to talk about or, like, see where that's going. Because
Same here.
I don't think it's in a good place right now.
We'll see. I'll just say that. I kind of have to keep tight-lipped on some things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I imagine there's stuff coming on the horizon, but if we're just talking at this point in time, it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good, but I'll say keep hope.
Mm-hmm. There's still going to be things. There's still things I would love to see from the Tales series. Because there's so much they can do. And, like, the big thing, those PS3 games, they need to come back on current platforms. We've already got Vesperia.
Yep.
We need Graces.
Also, and Xillia, 1 and 2.
Both of them. Yeah, we need both Xillia games.
Xillia was the whole reason I got into the Tales series.
Vesperia was the first one I played, but Xillia 1 sold me on it.
Tell me more.
About why?
Yes.
I don't know, I just like Xillia's art style, but also I have a statue of both Jude and Milla.
Nice.
So
Milla,
that's why.
Milla was the whole selling point for me to try out Tales.
Mm-hmm. But the one I need to play, and it's sitting, and this is one of my biggest shames in my backlog right now, is I need to play Berseria.
One that I really want to come back is Abyss.
I have 2 copies of Abyss.
Why?
Just because I have it for 3DS and I have it for PS2.
Oh, okay. I thought it was maybe both on the same platform.
No. But here's the kicker: they're both still sealed.
So worth some money now, actually.
Again, it's tempting to open them just to play them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably gonna have somebody say, "Don't do it."
Probably.
Yeah, don't open it.
So is there anything else you kind of wanted to say regarding NIS and NIS America?
I hope NIS can come out of their situation and, like, thrive to succeed, but like we were talking about before, NISA, I think they're going to be okay. They have these deals, and they are working with others besides their own in-house. Like, they're working with Falcom, they're working with Furyu, and they still have that stuff with Koei Tecmo, provided all those deals are still in place. They're going to be okay.
What if Koei Tecmo buys them out?
That would actually be interesting. I would be okay with that, though. Because then if you do another Warriors game, you could probably get an insane special edition with it.
Mm-hmm. What would they call NIS America at that point, though, if they became Koei Tecmo subsidiary?
I'd still keep it the same. It's the same thing like they did with Team Ninja.
Fair enough.
Just keep it the same. Just call it NIS.
Yep.
Well, what about you? Anything else to add to this?
Not particularly. I just think that NIS America is going to be okay. NIS Japan, we'll have to wait and see. I do have faith that they'll rebound because they've rebounded before. They just need to cut the fat and actually realize that you need to publish games that gamers actually really care about, and don't spend crazy amounts of money on games that are so niche that even niche gamers like myself are like, what the fuck is this shit?
Focus on what you do and do it well.
Yep. And make new IPs, for fuck's sakes.
It's about time. Even reviving one of your old IPs, that would be great.
Yep. Anyways, thanks for being on, John.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up, and where can people find you?
Well, if you want to have some chats and stuff, you can reach out to me. I have a Twitch, I have a Twitter /X, I also have a YouTube page, all under John McBaughan. So feel free to come by, have some conversations. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, if there's anything else that you want to add to this piece. So please keep in touch, and, hopefully I'll see you there.
All right, thanks for being on. I've done previous podcasts with John McBaughan. Please check them out. 2 of them will be popping up now. And until next time, keep blazing that trail.